Hi, my name is Daria Brown, and this is Let's Get Famous. This presentation is used as an extra credit opportunity for my GIM 400 class to showcase my ability to create a personal multiplayer game that is available to connect between different devices. I am also using this presentation as a milestone for me and my special topics project, as this is a game that I am going to be building and building for my senior year. Where it started. Let's Get Famous is going to be a virtual hydrating game that is originally created as a comms class assignment by my best friend and roommate, Tony Rice. It became a frequent game that was played in our apartment all the time, and we felt that it was just getting too repetitive, so we needed an upgrade. So, when expanding the idea, in 2023, I spent a lot of time deciding on how I wanted this project to go. I wanted to create something that was new and fresh, but original to the idea. So we thought about how we wanted it to be played, how we wanted it to look, and we wanted to add some extra add-ons that made the game different from a regular board game. We wanted to make it modern, we wanted to make it personal, and we wanted to make it fulfilling in a sense. So when revamping Let's Get Famous, my goal was to design the game to be more interactive and engaging. Adjustments included different types of specialized cards, characters with unique skills, and a new take on party council games like Jackbox and That's You. Because I really love the idea that there is one host, one person can download the app and host it on their screen, and anyone can pull out any device that connects to the internet, any device that connects to Google, Safari, and they can play it on their phones, hosting in a singular room that is specific to them. So our goal to create a specialized interaction and make it more modern, more new, but also familiar, we wanted to create cards that are specialized. So the goal was to create around 100 cards that are personalized to each in-game character depending on their occupation and career aspects. However, they are all going to fall under similar categories. So in total, there are 8 possible subjects to these cards that they fall under. Wild cards, which if you've ever played Do or Drink or if you've ever played King's Cup, it is similar to that sort of physical interaction with your other players and with yourself. So there is no effect on the gameplay. It is just a personal game that is familiar so people are understanding, but also more comfortable with how the game is going to be played. Skill cards, those are something that will be developed in later aspects because we want to create characters that will create different types of gameplay, which is something I will talk about on the next slide. But scandal cards and award cards can negatively affect your player's position or positively affect your player's position. So basically a card will be pulled and it will say, oh no, you have to go back 5 places, you were caught doing something bad. Or, oh my god, you won a recognition, move forward 10 places. Which cycles into the canceled cards, which sends a player back to start, like most canceled celebrities. And then there are different types of interactive cards that will be gameplays on the devices, and these are going to be future development, future understanding. We have a solo card. This is an event where players must do it themselves if they land on it. We have a list of things we want to incorporate, but there are some where it's you are solving something or you are doing a maze, but it is all dependent on one player. Ensemble cards is the exact same thing, but the game will automatically select 1 or 3 other people to help engage. And company cards is everybody must do it. And so characters, this goes back to the idea that we wanted to create something that can have more to do than just chance. So people are allowed to they are allowed to select a character at start, and our concept is we wanted to incorporate our friend group into the game while giving them their own careers that are specific to them, and with skill sets that are influencing their gameplay. So the strengths of the skills are highly theoretical based on what I have assumed is to be more useful within the game, but the chances of winning and the probabilities will vary as development and gameplay persists. Again, these are future development ideas, but it's luck, wealth, networking, and talent. Everyone will have a set number in each, which will alter how their gameplay is made. So this can create a dynamic. If someone wants a challenging thing, they can think of someone that might have more chances of winning, but someone who might not. This is just to create more differences in your gameplay. So where we are now, we have a connection on both ends, Unity and the web, where the server will determine whether the connection is a host on Unity or a player, which is on the web. So networking, I researched a few ways to create a connection. My first choice was to use Photon Unity, but I was a little skeptical because there wasn't a lot of information based around Photon. And when I was originally doing it, Unity, they would both connect to the server, but they were unable to see each other. And there was another option I could do, but it was paid, and by that point, I just wanted to try and find another way. So I went through multiple YouTube videos where I eventually fell upon this video, which is Quiplash's multi-screen multiplayer game from 3 to 10,000 players. And it goes very much in depth to how they created it and what I needed to do, which is how I landed on Socket.io. So ultimately, I used Socket.io to create the connection from both sides, and I used it to communicate to each other. Then I had to figure out how to host Socket.io using Node.js and a third-party server, which I used Render, so that the players could join on different devices. Because using Node.js and Socket.io, I was able to create the connection, but I was unable to show that there was other connections on other devices. And so I needed to host it on a third-party server. But why did I use Socket.io? Well, creating a party console game relies heavily on the availability of web connection and multi-room compatibility, especially a game like Jackbox, where you need to have rooms designed for each character, because there is no way that you were going to fit that many people in one room. I don't even think I have that many friends. So technically, I am not in the stage where I need to be hosting multiple games. It is not necessary for me. However, if there is one thing that we learned this semester, it is build after the connection. Figure out your networking before you build anything else. So in other words, prepare for the connection first and then build that game around it. So using Socket, it is reliable and an effective way to create instantaneous communication with web players to and from the host. And so going into the code, basically describing, I have a host and player classifications, which is my first step. So this is helping determine what is a host and what is a player. And basically, first code shows that it is coming from a web browser. And the next identification, if identification is not classified before a specific time, a web browser then will deem the client type as a host. This was developed before when I was trying to figure out how Unity works with UI or Socket. So I had a backup code just in case to make sure that the client type was deemed a host eventually. We do have it working, and that will be showcased in our demo. There's hosting rooms. We wanted to generate room code up there, so we had it basically the math where these are the letters available and these are the numbers available. And then the features available within a room is the serialized room. This is showing host ID, which will be what is classified when a host is identified, players, which will be added when they join, the characters that they choose, and then these are just roles. These are all very basic setups for what I have. And server-side code, once it's host, it is detected and associated to a room code linked specifically to that host. Joining rooms. This is the HTML web player, very short, very small, very sweet. Server-side code to add a player to the room. So basically, you click that button, this is showing what it is. I have a few things where it is, if a room is not available, it will not work, and if there is double wording, if there are double players, it will not work. So character selection, we have choose your character. This allows characters to be selected, and these are the available characters. And the stats will be important later, but I wanted to have them available before I did anything big. And this is a small snippet of me, Jackie, and May in the room. Character selection increase. This is the extra code that allows the players to change their characters and update the available characters for everyone. So it will lock, it won't let two people be one character, but if it's updated, it will let you switch from them before you lock in. And then once you lock in, you're locked in. These are extra game mechanics for what you will about to see on the demo. There's a player rolled, there's a start game, and there's a countdown. These are things that we will change later. This was just for creating a back-to-back talk. Disconnections. I do have to make sure that it is shown that there is disconnections. So there is the code up ahead if the room closed, if a host disconnects, everything is deleted and they get kicked out. And then there's also if a player disconnects, it'll update the room, update the character selections. Okay, I really wanted to showcase the connections between all of the devices, the server, the web, and the host. So I wanted to film this on my phone, and this is basically showing after I sent in a push to GitHub, it is auto deploying that new push from the server, from the third-party server on render. It is grabbing, it is auto cloning anytime. This is a system that you can set up or you can have it denied and just manually deploy. But right now it is checking for that impurities, it is checking if it can run on Node server.js, and it is checking for the server running and is basically making sure that it can go live. And this is useful if you want to connect between devices and not just on one device, because if you're doing it on local, you can only connect on one device. And so let's get famous. You have the room code, you have the name, you have your join room, and this is basically the setup that is just on the server. And it shows that specific socket ID that is connected to that connection, that is connected to that singular web player. And the same thing will go when we have a host. We will have all these, it will have a host that is sending, it is sending a unique ID. I do have a problem with my room code right now. There's something that is a delay in the server that is just causing two IDs to show up, but it is automatically disconnected. You can see the room is closed, but that room BDMQ is auto created for the host, so it is designed specifically for that socket ID, for that host ID. No one else can connect to it on the host side. So basically now we are just putting in that ID, we are putting in the name, and we are connected as a player. And so that player ID is specific to that room. It is specific to all of that, and we are there. And I want to also showcase here that I can do more than one connections right now, because I know that we only really mentioned that we needed a connection from a client and a host, but I wanted to show that we can have 2 players and 1 host, 3 players, 1 host. Right now it's up to 3, but basically, and it's showing all this information. And because players and all these IDs are very important, we want to make sure that not 2 names are the same. So now it's going to be Tony. So that ID is connected to the name Tony so that there is no confusion in the code. Everything is set up so it is beautifully, so there is no mess ups, no meshing of the code. And so there is the choosing the character. And again, I wanted this to be singular, so it's like only one person can be a character. So even if I tried, even if I wanted my heart's desire, I cannot choose Rayanne if Tony's chosen Rayanne. But I can choose someone else, or if he wanted to choose, he has the options to switch, and that option will become available thanks to the code that I've mentioned before in my slides. And so we have the ability to lock in, and then Tony can lock in if he wants. And then we're going back to the server side, or sorry, to the host side. And this is where we show the lock-in and the communication from the host to the players. Because we showed that there is communication from players to host, but now there's host to players. And it is turning that countdown on, and it is going to send in 3 seconds a rolling die to start the game. And so this is the player responding back to the host saying, this is what I rolled, this is going to be my new position, this is going to be what player I am, and it's going back and it is showing that Tony rolled a 1, Daria rolled a 5, so the lock-in, the order is going to be Daria's higher, she's going to be first, Tony's going to be second, finalized order, basically. And so I also want to demonstrate here is the disconnection. If Tony leaves, he's gone, everything updates and auto updates and deletes. And then the same thing when a host disconnects, it takes a few seconds, but it will kick everyone from the player and say host has disconnected, room is closed. And it'll boot you back to the join room and it'll say everything on the server. Player has left, room has closed, basically all of that. And so this is basically the beginning. This is the most important parts of connecting that server, and I'm excited to build on this. It's very obvious that this project is very big and that it's going to be very time consuming, and that I do have a deadline for what I need to show, because this is going to be my special topics project for my senior year showcase. So this is only the beginning of my journey to create a fully functioning party council game that is available to all people, and I want it to be something that is public, and I want it to be something that I am proud of, that I can showcase in my portfolios. I might be able to like even build off my company when I have the time to create that. I want to be able to make it a staple. I want to be able to be proud of it. So I am using this game as my special topics project so that I can further my information, so that I can create this and be proud of this. But again, I only have a semester to do this, so my goals for the next month is to create at least 3 characters, because we have 3 connections. I'm debating between Daria, Tony, and Logan to create character stats, game pieces, and mechanics that are special to these players. And these game mechanics, I want it to be more visually appealing. I want it to be more engaging, something that is more interactive, and something that really just draws the person in and doesn't just be like, oh, it's another game to play. It actually is fun to watch. It's fun to play. So I want visible player movement. I want the dice roll mechanic. I want simple card mechanisms, which is like just the wild, the scandal, the award, and the canceled. I think that I want to do the production cards later. Those are something that is going to be a very, very big topic to discuss, and I think they would be so fun to do, but they are just out of reach right now, and that is totally okay. But I also want, this is the stretch goal for my March, for my showcase, is the player skills implications, because I think it is very valuable to understand the probability and the sort of Hollywood realism where it is based on luck, it is based on talent, it is based on networking, and it is based on wealth. These are 4 very important things that do typically help people in the industry. And I want to add some realism, some fantasy realism into the gameplay. I want to make it feel a little more, yeah, that makes sense. And I do want to be able to have this game have continuous multiplayer game loops until they meet that end. So it's basically once they land on that end square, once they become famous, once they are A-list celebrity, that is when the game ends. And I want that to have some data collection to it, because I really do want this updated leaderboard. I want data collection. I want to see how this is working, and I really, really want to see how people feel when they play this game, because I do want to make this an engaging game for the people, for me, for my best friend Tony, for everybody, and I want to make this as improved as I can. And so I am so excited for these next steps, and I am so grateful that you stayed through this entire talk, and I thank you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to show you what I create more.